Welcome to Real Talk Sundays, the podcast for the people, by the people.
Because some people can't handle real talk no matter what day it is.
I'm your host, Amanda. Welcome back to another episode of RTS with my co-host with the most,
Val.
We also have a very special guest today. Very, very special. Talking about
very, very, very special.
Very, very to the third power special. This is our for the people, by the people aspect of RTS. This is Zane McGinley, man who does need an introduction because quite literally a drum roll, I would say. I'm very excited to have you on here. Welcome to RTS.
She's obsessed with you,
Dude,
so you know.
I was geeking out over it, dude.
I'm used to it.
Swag today is sponsored by Dying Famous, which is your current band. But I wanted to open up with a little bit about you. One, because I brought you on here specifically because we had interviewed you at our pop-up podcast party. Mm-hmm. And you had mentioned that you had written an autobiography. And I was like, well, I have to fucking read this. I was like,
can we know that?
I was like, can I fucking
what?
read it and invite you back? And you were like, absolutely. So that's really, you know, the meat and potatoes of this episode, what I want to talk about. But like, I want to talk a little bit more about you, kind of current day, where you're at, Dying Famous, which is the current band, you know, that I'm currently repping right now. And talk a little bit about like where you're at today, and then we're gonna dive right into that.
I started Dying Famous in 2010.
Okay.
We
wow.
toured all over West Coast. We're working on a second album right now. We've got about 19, 20 songs that we're sitting on that we're going through. So we've got a ton of new music that's about to drop this year. And we're going right back into touring. We haven't toured in a few years, obviously because of COVID. But also before that, three of us went through divorces. I went through a weird depression, tried cancer for a minute. So we all kind of had some things going on that kept us from touring hard. But we're going back to that this year. So a lot of great things coming for Dying Famous that I'm looking forward to. And I love being on the stage. It's where I feel the most myself, So that's going to be good. Personally, divorced, which is great.
I feel like in this day and age, if you're not divorced, I don't trust you at this point. You know what I mean? Like I was like, because you have your first husband and you have your second husband.
Yeah, it was a fun divorce. It was
they always
not
are.
Really. It was brutal.
The first ones are always gotta cut your teeth, so to speak.
Right, but so now I've dabbled in the dating thing a little bit, but I hate the online dating, and I seem to attract women who are more on the crazy side. It's just
so I've read.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know what it is with that. They just flock to me like bees to honey, But it makes for a lot of good stories, and I've got a second book I'm working on that'll cover even more. So after my divorce in 2019, I went back down to Anaheim, where I'm from, for a year. During COVID, it was freaking awesome. There was nobody anywhere. I could get to LA in 20 minutes. I'd go to the beach every day. There's like 30 people there. I loved COVID in Southern California. Was my only
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that.
My only complaint was that Disneyland wasn't open, so I wasn't doing acid there. Other than that, I loved every minute of it. But I did have some. I technically, I think I got raped by a woman. And it was brutal, and then she squirted all over our living room floor.
Evidence of non-success, but no, do that fucking shit happens.
And I tried a stint as a gigolo. I had one client though. It really could have been in the Deuce Bigalow movie. This woman,
that's like one of my favorite movies.
She had cerebral palsy, and it affected like one half. And
like which way, horizontal or vertical?
Like one leg and one arm.
Gotcha.
One leg and one arm and all of her personality.
With it.
But
oh, fuck.
But she would come over, every Wednesday and give me and my buddy Efren, who we were living together, $1 tacos. And then she'd throw me $100 and toss my salad for 30 minutes, and then go home. She'd hobble out of there.
Hobble out.
Well, it was more like a slide and a hobble.
It's a good day in hell.
Scrape, hobble. But yeah. Yeah, so that's stuff for the next book.
Absolutely. No, definitely. I mean, you've lived a life. The crazy part is so I guess I wanted to know, or you wanted to know, like, how long this book took you to write. Like, when did you start it? When did you finish it?
trying to remember the exact. I started in the latter part of 2000. No, the early part of 2015. I started, and I spent 6 months trying to learn how to write about myself, because you got this thing where you say, you know, I don't care what people think, but you do, you know, and you've got to filter that out of you, and almost put yourself in a mindset that you're not. You're kind of talking to yourself or something, you know, because otherwise you want to subconsciously, like, I don't want people to think I'm this bad. But the truth is I am the asshole of the story, you know. I mean, there's a lot of jerks in the book, but I'm the biggest jerk, you know.
Which is interesting because when I was reading it, I was like, yeah, it's a dick move, but you're a kid. Like, I was like, dick move, but that's on pace, like, you know. And I was even thinking, like, my first thought, and when I have like severe ADHD, so I was reading it and it matched me. Like, it kept me engaged because I hop around all the time. You'd be reading 2-3 pages and you'd be like, fuck what I just read. And you gotta go back. But this one, because of the way you write, is very conversational. And so I was with it. And the thing I kept thinking, I was like, everyone should write a fucking autobiography.
Everybody should.
Everybody should.
Yeah.
Everybody should. And I was literally thinking about my parents because I don't mean this like ageist, but like, you grew up in the same area, same time frame as my parents. And it almost gave me a snapshot into their adolescence a little bit, because they grew up, like, my father was in Indio, my mom was outside LA, and, you know, 70s, 80s, and just the drugs. And we were talking a little bit about how, you know, my dad got really into drugs, and I, for the longest time, was like disgusted, and my uncles too. My uncles got, so you're a little younger.
They're a bit older than me. Yeah.
They're a little younger.
God,
and like,
he's not that old, Amanda.
No, because you were born in 76, right? No, 76?
74.
74. Yeah. And a matter of the music and the upbringing, but like, I remember just judging my dad a lot. We were just talking about this, like, about his drug use and about the way he grew up, and even going back as a child and visiting Indio and being like, the fuck, like, you know, or, you know, just different spots that they grew up in, the pockets of LA, and judging and coming with a little bit of, disdain and disgust and like frustration. And then when we were talking about it, I was like, no, dude, you're a fucking kid and you're hanging out with people who like to fucking party and you like to feel good. And what the fuck else is there to do? You know what I mean?
Right.
Besides fucking get drunk, do drugs, go to work, play music, have fun. Like, it's fucking
It's all I've ever
Cali,
wanted
bro.
to do.
And it's Cali.
Yeah.
Like, it's the
So
epicenter.
Basically, you were very therapeutic for her.
Yeah.
Like, she now is forgiving her dad.
I didn't say that.
Well, that's cool.
I didn't say that.
The book
I understand it.
was actually
being
very
funny.
therapeutic for me.
I could
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah. So to go back to your earlier question, so I started that process, and then my father died. And he had made this comment to me, I think it's in the book, about, I told him I was writing the autobiography.
Wait
and
till
he's
I'm
like,
dead.
Wait till I'm dead.
Yeah.
You know, and that just sat so heavy with me. And it took me another year and a half or so, maybe 2 years to get back into it. And I wrote it, and I finished it, and then deleted the file by accident. Yeah. So I had to rewrite the whole thing.
Oh
Fuck.
my
And start over.
God.
Do you think this one's better than the first draft?
I do, because my approach to the first draft was a little more academic, where this was very. I mean, when I'm talking in there about, hey, smoke this joint with me or drink this shot with me, I'm doing that as I'm writing.
Sounds it.
You
Like, when
know,
you were,
so-
I was like, he's fucking doing this right at 2
Yeah,
a.m.
yeah,
Just
absolutely.
fucking-
And so what did I finish it? I finished it in 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah. But once I did, it kind of felt like all the stuff I'd been carrying around that's in the book. Like, I had put it down, and it now belonged to somebody else. So it had that therapeutic kind of thing for me, which is another reason I think everybody should write an autobiography.
100%.
Nobody reads it or not. It does give you that sense of you can let go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I believe, I was going to say, on the writer side, like, I can only imagine, especially like talking about, quite frankly, the trauma that you went through, and like walking through all of that, reading it, digesting it, and then almost like having this moment of like recognizing other people in my life who've experienced something similar, and how I was like, God, I wish they could. Because honestly, I would love to read that book. And I would love to read a little bit about my parents. Or I was like, damn, if my grandpa wrote a fucking book, he's no longer here. How much would I have loved to just write in or read his voice,
Right, yeah.
and talk about his experience, in the fucking 50s and 60s in Cali and like coming up and like your grandpa, like reading. I was like, damn, everyone should do this. This is a vibe. I should fucking do this. And then you get in your head and you're like, no, I'm boring. Nah, my life's not that cool. Like, oh no, I didn't do that much fun stuff. I'm really kind of anticlimactic.
I can see how people would think that, but they should write it anyway.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to always be thrown in extreme situations. To go from a strict evangelical home to overnight living in a swinger club at 15 years old and different things. So I had things kind of thrown at me that I had to adapt with, but which makes for a good read, fortunately, for me, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun.
Like,
It wasn't all fun, but most of it was fun.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Now, like even moments too where you're like writing shit and you're like, I think I should rewrite that. I don't know if somebody would receive that. I don't know, fuck it. It's just actually kind of what fucking happened.
Yeah.
The part that I wanted, the first part where I remember I was like, what the fuck did I just read? What the fuck did I just read? And the fact that it wasn't its own designated chapter, like blew my fucking brain out the back, is when you were, I can't remember how old, like 12, I think, 12, 13, and your dad took you to see those two priests, that exorcism that happened.
I was
like
14.
14?
Yeah.
I was like,
Yeah, that was rough. That was
my
rough.
God. I teared up, dude. Like I was reading it and I was like, the fuck? The crazy shit is, you're not the only person I've heard that happen to.
I'm
Coming
sure,
from a super Christian, like Pentecostal fucking home. And that's the crazy part is that, and that was kind of the first like thing I wanted to open up about is like, one, how fucking traumatic. Two, how it shaped your opinion in the irony where you're like, ironically, I was praying to God that they bought it, that they bought my bit, you know what I mean? So I could get the fuck out of this scenario. And that's almost the day that you left your faith behind on this, right?
It was the first crack.
Yeah, to where you're like,
And-
something's not right
Yeah.
here.
And for the audience, my father pulled me out of school one day, took me to the Vineyard, which was located down in Anaheim, one of their chapters, because he thought I had a demonic influence on my life from some pictures I was drawing.
Yeah.
Spider-Man monsters, things. Shit 14-year-old kids
Yeah.
draw, And they took me in a room about this size and did what they call laying on of hands, and praying on you. And they started demanding that this, explaining to me that there was a demonic influence controlling my life. And and they needed to get rid of this demon. And they were, I don't know, it went crazy. They were asking the demon for its name. And I'm freaking out. I'm 14 and I totally buy into the whole evangelical Christian thing. It's what I was raised in, and I'm like bawling. But the more I protested that, hey, there's no demon, the more aggressive they got.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Again, I don't know how long it was. 20 to 30 minutes felt like an eternity.
I bet.
Where I realized at some point this isn't going to end unless I appease these
Commit
people.
to the
and I'm
bit,
already
yeah.
bawling, so I just started spitting on myself and just went, I'm Legion,
Yeah.
and luckily for me, they did buy it.
Yeah.
But yeah, walking out of there, my dad was happy. He thought he had done something great for his son, like
Right.
and I'm just thinking, wait a minute, why did I have to fake that? This is all real. What's going on here? And I proceeded to get in trouble the next year, that whole year, for ditching school repeatedly to read the Bible. I read it cover to cover. And at 14, and then I would go into my church and I'd ask my youth pastor, I'd ask Ralph Wilkerson, who was our senior pastor, all these questions, and they
I
would
could
just
only
get,
imagine. I have some questions.
yeah,
Hold on, I got another question.
they would just get more and
I
more
fucking bet.
annoyed.
Because
You know,
if that's one thing like religion has taught me, like it's absolute blind faith. Like we don't question what we what we
Right.
feel, what we follow in our faith. And that to me is just like, what? Like as a naturally inquisitive young boy, and even imagining my son right now, but why? But how come? But how does that work? Explain that to me. Explain to me. And I'm just like, well, fuck, man, you just gotta believe. Like, you know what I mean, bro? Like, so I don't have anything for you.
Yeah. So that was the first peek behind my Wizard of Oz
Yeah.
moment. Looking behind the curtain kind
That
of thing.
shit, bro, that shit was traumatic. And I was like, I could only fucking imagine. And like, it led me, because when I was reading about it, and I don't want to give too much away because I do want people to read this. It was a very interesting take on like a California, like, you know what I mean? It was a vibe. But for me, I was reading and I was like, okay. And I've actually heard this happen. I've seen this happen. And I'm reading this happen with my friends, with other people, and like just that I've experienced in my walks of life where their parents did the best they knew how to do at the time, right?
Right.
We got no internet, no books. We're trying. We're comparing notes to other parents. Like, what the fuck are we doing? We're working. We're doing it. But you're in a latchkey kid situation, so you're kind of just like fucking hanging out, doing your own thing. But like when it comes to, they show up and they say, all right, throw away your fucking art, because that is demonic, and stop listening to that music because that doesn't represent Christ, right? And they take away the loves of your life, like as a kid, right? They're saying you can't do this, throw away that, you can't continue to listen to this or even pique that curiosity or interest. Instead of leveraging it, they're denying it, to where they took away everything to a point where you had nothing left but to say, fuck it, let the world burn then. If I can't fucking play my music, I can't write it, I can't even look at the cover art, I can't make my own art, I can't fucking do it, and you take it all away, what the fuck else do you have?
Religion does that to people at any age.
It really
the
does.
premise of at least the American take on Christianity and things is that you are broken.
Yeah.
Unfixably broken.
Guilt, shame.
And everything about you is just wrong. And some imaginary dude is going to fix it for you, you know. So there's always that kind of snare of victimhood that's in there, the basis of religion, you know. And it's, I don't know. I think all cults are that way.
Oh,
yeah.
100.
Ooh, yeah. That's true.
But yeah, and it had me thinking like about your healing journey. And that was actually a good question you brought up. Like, how did you phrase that question as far as like,
How do you feel like did you heal before this book or after this book? Or during?
Because like when you write about it, I don't hear the disdain in your voice talking about your parents and all that. Like this.
There's not.
And then finding out later, like, you know.
Because my parents, you know, they, with the religious thing, nothing was malicious.
That's what I said at breakfast. I was like, I don't think this was malicious. I think they loved him.
They
know how to do.
absolutely, unquestionably loved me.
Yeah.
And loved me. And that was never, you know, when I rebelled and left home, it was never about, my dad took it personal, but it was never about him and my love for him or anything. It was about me and that God. It was about me and that church. And he had a hard time separating that. And I had I think I healed from the religious thing way before that. I mean, it affected me hard. I slept with the light on until I was 22, 23, you know, just, yeah. I mean, you know, because our church, you know, evangelicalism, it's all about the demons everywhere. You know, they're in the Disney movies, they're in the music, they're in and when you're a kid and that's just beat into your head, you know, and part of it wasn't just a demonic thing. There was this psychological thing of Jesus is going to come get me. And I actually had people tell me that. Like there was this one woman, don't remember her name, she came to our church and spoke and came right up to me and was like, you're not going to have a good night's sleep until you accept the Lord. And I was just like, that sounds like witchcraft to me. Yeah, you know? Yeah. So
I guess I'm not getting any sleep the rest of my life.
It is as difficult as it is to fall into the snare, well, as easy as it is to fall into the snare of religious cults and propaganda and stuff, it is even harder to lose your God. And even at, you know, 15, 16 years old, that was very traumatic for me. I understand faith. I don't look down on it or anything. I understand it. I may have said this in the book. My heart longs for that. It would be wonderful to have a God that is all accepting, that loves me no matter what, that's looking out for me and everything. Psychologically, I can't accept that. You know, so it would be disingenuous of me to give into it. But I understand the sentiment. I understand the need and the want. We're all looking for meaning in our life, and we're all fucking scared of dying, and we're hoping there's something beyond.
Oh, 100%.
You know?
It's the human experience's approach to honestly just accepting that we don't fucking know. And so to have this faith in a higher power, it gives you a lot of answers without answering directly, right? And it gives a sense of community. It also gives a sense of support because, like, even growing up as a single mom, fucking church is going to help you. Like, the church is going to be a safe haven. It's a comfortable place to go. It's a safe place to go. Supposedly, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, abso-fucking-lutely. Abso-fucking-lutely.
And people are always asking me, well, what if you're wrong? What if you die and you have to face Jesus or you have to face God? And my answer is quite simply, you couldn't cure one fucking kid from cancer?
Yeah, I always say that.
You know what I mean?
I literally always say that.
You got a lot to answer for, buddy. Certainly way more than I do. You know?
You're like pulling out your book of sins. You're like, no, I have a question.
Exactly.
Page 137. Okay. And also too the whole, and that was the thing. I was like, well, let's just be very, very aware because we do have an episode coming up on religion specifically where we want a round table of a few people who represent. So it's really hard in this book to not go down the rabbit hole that is religion and like how it played such a strong role in your life, the absence of it almost, both present and absent, how it played a role. But like...
and both equally traumatic.
Yeah.
In a way.
And out. And then you have, in addition to that, so now you have your love for music, which I just think is so crazy, is like some kids are just born with this like, it's this gift, it's the ear, it's the thumb, it's the beat, and it's just like, that's your art. And I was just thinking too, because I'm a mom of two of very, very artistic kids, or very, kids who are just like trying to fill out what the fuck they like. And I could only imagine going to my daughter, because sometimes she draws weird shit, and being like, you can't draw that, throw it away, like we can't have that, you know what I mean? When you're a fucking artist, like we need to breathe life into that. We need to let's get you into choir. Would that have kept you into school? You know what I mean? Like, let's get you into music theory and percussion. Let's see if you fucking like the drums instead. And like, let's get you playing the bass. Let's get you writing music and music theory, and seeing how that would have played out versus this, no, don't do it. And I noticed that with you and among other people that I've had an insight into their childhood, the more you tell a kid you can't fucking do it, the more they're going to figure out a way to do it. Like, kids are the most resourceful, passionate people. I'll do it in front of your face or behind your back.
I on that point, I don't think music would have had the impact it had on me if not for one moment. I remember I was about 4 or 5 years old. And this is my earliest musical memory. And my uncle was, we were at my grandfather's house, and he had this old classic 70s record player, which I actually own now. Been in 4 pornos, that record player. Yeah. But he was playing Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd. And we don't need no education. And I'm just kind of, I'm hearing it, but I didn't pay attention to it until my mom walked in and was like, David, I don't want him listening to that. Had she not said that, it would have just passed me by, I think. But because she said that, I was like, whoa, what is this power that this has? I want to know about this, even at that young age. And I think that was the hook right there.
You're just right. And it was just almost like it was a lesson learned, I think, because as a new parent, my kids are 5 and 6, and just thinking like, if they want it bad enough, they're going to get it. And I was thinking about how I was raised. I was also raised in a very Christian household until I realized, this doesn't feel right. This isn't right. I'm not in alignment here. But the amount of time my mom will be like, she was a bad girl. And I'm like, bitch, because you didn't let me do anything. My mom was overprotective. My dad was underprotective. So yeah, I fucking snuck out. Yeah, I was having premarital sex. Yeah, I was doing all the things that you're quote unquote not supposed to do. But it's bitch because you told me you shouldn't do it. Like, you know what I mean? You didn't give me the why. You didn't humble or step down from your pedestal as a parent and say, because I have experience and this is why I don't think you should do it. It's just like, because I fucking said so, blind obedience or bust. Oh, I'm going to choose bust until you catch me. You know what I mean? Like, fucking catch me if you can. And so it was almost this like subtle lesson learned as a parent, being like, when you have a kid who's into something that you don't necessarily approve of, almost having this introspection of, why don't I approve of it? Why don't I fucking like it? And getting curious to that. And then finding this way to be like, all right, can we do an art project together? Can we create music for God together and see how that feels? Like, can we make a song for God and just see how it feels? Like, you know what I mean? Or finding out a way to just have this common shared space and a safe space for your kid to explore this art versus you saying, absolutely not.
My parents, especially my father, always encouraged my interest in music or acting. there was never that issue as much as the type. And he did often say, let's get you involved in the church choir or this or that. And to both their credit, they were always and still are very supportive of that kind of thing. I see it in my mom with her grandkids, with my sister's kids, and her support of the things that they're into.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
You always like skips like, oh, okay.
So they always, to their credit, they had that. But I was still attracted to the thing I couldn't. And it wasn't always so much my parents saying you couldn't, though it was also the entire community.
Yeah,
the church.
society, everybody.
Yeah, and so like my youth group rented this movie. It was called Hell's Bells, and it was this Christian documentary about the devil's influence on music. And of course they focused on heavy metal and, Ozzy's got demons and this and that. And the rest of my youth group is watching this. A couple of them would just whatever, but most of them like, oh my God, it's terrible. And I've always had this thing where I've been fascinated by darkness. As a real small child, Darth Vader was it for me. So I'm the one kid sitting in the youth group watching this going, I need to hear more of this. I need to know more. Okay. Yeah. And it's that inquisitive nature, I think, that really, I don't think there's anything my church or parents could have done. My inquisitive nature would have pulled me out of it eventually anyway. And so it was this curiosity with this secular world that really, and it was just these little cracks that kept building, And I don't want to give your podcast watchers and listeners the impression that I only bash on Christianity.
Not at all. There's a whole
I hate all religions.
There's a whole table here. We can go down the line.
I don't like any of them.
You're right. I want to go into Casa De Swing.
Bro, can we talk about Casa De Swing?
I have a question before that. Is your mom? That guy was your grandpa, obviously.
This is my mother's father.
Yeah. But so my one question more on religion, then we'll go to Casa De Swing. But how come she was so religious all of a sudden? But was he? How did that happen? Because you learn it at home, and
they were raised on my mom's side of the family. Yeah. My grandfather and my grandmother was into church her whole life.
Oh, okay.
So they went to church.
Oh.
But I think my grandfather did it as more of like, at that time, the 50s, the 60s, that's what you're supposed to do in society.
Gotcha.
On Sundays, you go to church.
Right.
And it was, he was a engineer and taught engineering to Air Force and Navy. He had a security clearance, and they were living in Japan, and he encountered a geisha girl. And then also his introduction to swinging started there because it was really popular among the Air Force.
Oh, for sure.
They had, and he just, when he came back to that he kind of had the same thing I had with religion, though not as traumatic, because he was never fully bought into it,
Gotcha, that makes sense. I was just curious of how that, goes like that.
Yeah.
Bro, your grandpa sounded like the coolest motherfucker. I was like, this guy sounds cool.
He is pretty cool.
He sounds like a bad man.
Yeah, he's rad.
Is he still alive?
He is. Yeah,
he
just turned 90, lives in the same house.
Still fucking swinging.
Casa De Swing. No, he's not swinging anymore. But
man.
Yeah.
The founding father. No, and that's, I thought, was the coolest thing too, is like going into being introduced into sex in such a avant-garde way, because swinging at that time was so depending on what type of society you were on, was so hush-hush. And you had mentioned, it starts with key parties, and he was like, fuck key parties. Let's make this a thing. Let's make it a swing. And the vibe of the house, and you being exposed to the art that was in the home and everything at such a young age, and having exposure to sex and all this. And I was like, damn, I fuck a lot. In my life, I was like, oh, okay, I've fucked a lot. Bro, you fucked me under the table. I was like, this is nuts. Oh my God, how do you keep track? And ultimately too, you started so young, and kind of working through different women kind of had these different roles, little pepper flakes throughout your life, kind of shaping how you feel about sex and love and drama. And some of these bitches be crazy. So when you wrote on the end, yeah, I'm married now, at the time, yeah, me married. Can you imagine? I was like, no, I fucking can't, actually. No, I fucking can't. And to me, I was just thinking that exposure at such a young age, and like pornography and swinging and nudity and just the casual, like, how do you feel that's played a role in your sex, like as an adult, like how you feel about sex?
A lot. For one, I am 100% desensitized to pornography. I mean, I can turn it on and eat dinner. It just has that. You know?
Who is that?
Yeah.
Do I know her?
Oh, DP. Great.
Yeah, and I don't even watch it anymore because I finished it. But it's just
finished it?
Yeah, I finished it. Yeah. I'm serious. If I look at
watched
this,
it all.
there's
No more.
nothing new. By the time
Cannot
people
refresh
got,
feed.
I don't know if you guys remember, what was it, a decade ago or something, where they had the 2 girls, 1 cup.
Oh my god!
And everybody was freaking out, and I saw that thing and was like, eh. You know?
It is a Tuesday. I probably did this on a Tuesday. Oh my god!
But it has in other senses, in that I am a social deviant when it comes to sex. I like to tell people I'm a trisexual. Right, I'll try anything twice to make sure.
First time, just feeling it out. Second time, see if I like it.
Yeah. It's like, what's your pronoun? I'm like, Zane. Because I like, my limits long ago have been pushed, and pushing other people's limits. It just, I don't know, man. I like sex. What am I going to say?
For sure.
And do I probably have some psychological issues because of my upbringing in a swinger club? Probably. Can I pinpoint all of them? Fuck no. Do I care? No. No. Oh, but yeah, it does. It does. I lost a tooth because of it. So yeah.
Because of your sexcapades?
Yeah. That's how the tooth thing happened.
Shut the fuck up right
we
now,
hear
Zane.
about
I
that,
need to hear
please?
this right now.
Cunnilingus accident. I was
Shut the fuck up.
going down on this woman, and a couple orgasms in, she's bucking, and beware the beak, gentlemen. Beware the beak. Hit me. She had 3 stitches, but yeah, she bucked hard enough that that bone there, just, and it
The
loosened
pubis,
my
yeah.
tooth, and
That bone
after about
there.
6 months, it just fucked my tooth.
Oh my god, it just died. And then
Yeah.
I was thinking it was like a piercing or some shit. Fucking clock. Damn.
Yeah.
No, I've been there. One time I remember a guy was fucking me from behind, and I bucked back and fucking blasted him in the nose. He got he was blood all over it. I was like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "No,
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it's my own episode of Sex Sent Me to the Dentist.
Jesus Christ, that's beautiful.
Right?
Fuck.
At least you're going down on her. Dang. Like
Chapter 1, so I went to the dentist. Like, what the fuck?
Chapter 5, I got my tooth back.
It's on a retainer, but
I'll probably end up with a
barrier.
crown or something.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. My brother lost his tooth. Yeah, he has a fake tooth. And it's whiter than all the other ones. So just be careful for that. It's coming. Oh, my God. That's a good one. Note to self.
I was wondering, wow.
Note to self. Let's take a moment on that one.
I know. Let's take a
gonna
moment of
give that
silence for Zane's
hold
tooth.
space for that tooth.
Take a moment of silence for her. She had 3 stitches.
All I could think about too is
That's
like,
her fault for bucking.
Well, technically it was my fault for her bucket.
Damn. All I could think about too is like, I mean, if it was in the wrong place at the right fucking time, like that could have gone straight through her clit. She'd been ruined. Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God.
3 stitches.
Bro. Ouch. Fuck. All right. Where were we? I had a different fucking cake.
I don't know how to go back from that.
Meanwhile, back at Casa De Swing. Shit. So yeah, that's just the fucking coolest pad too, and be able to allow you a safe space, like meanwhile while he's at work, to like play your music, to like be who you are, and like you guys just had this known respect, and of course like Dave was a huge role, your uncle, and as far as like just honestly, Casa De Swing gave you this safe space to be your fucking self unapologetically.
Yes. Yeah.
And it got you to really explore your music with a bunch of different people, but also like that you really like to fucking party. And like you fucking party. Like you hear these things and you read these things and you even have your own experiences at parties. You're like, wow, I was crazy back in the day. And
Not
I just,
really.
not
compared
fucking
to
really.
Zane.
No, not fucking really. And I remember you were talking about doing drugs, going to the park, and I was like, yeah, like, or going to a theme park, and I was like, yeah, I remember when I dropped mushrooms and went to fucking Knott's Berry Farm, right?
Yeah.
I was 33. Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, oh my God, like, this is nuts. But like your endeavors with LSD and almost like during the time period in history, like how LSD was so by the government just so demonized about how because you get this higher self, you get this awakening, and it was waking a lot of fucking people up. And dude, you took probably as much acid as the founder of LSD took figuring out what acid was. And
A lot, and I still take a lot of acid.
And then you're like, and then 2 days later, I took another two hits and went to Disneyland.
Yeah, right.
I was like, oh my
love
God.
Disneyland.
I've done a lot of drugs, but I have the fortunate chemistry makeup to not be an addict, which a lot of my friends don't.
That's
and
yeah,
I've seen
Yeah.
drugs affect a lot of people. I've never had an issue of not doing something or putting something down. So when I do something like last weekend, it's
And you're
it's intentional. You know what I mean? It's like I'm gonna go do this. You know, it's never I have to. Never. It's been that way with me. But LSD was, at that point I'd done pot, I'd done crack. I tried that. That was actually the first drug I tried because I had a friend who was in it. It was fucking awful.
Yeah.
And I remember telling him, dude, what the fuck is wrong with you? Yeah. And then, of course, I had the crazy girlfriend on meth and was around that. Was a big thing then. But I gravitated towards weed because I don't like to not feel that I'm in control. You know, even when I drink, it's rare that you'll see me drunk.
Right.
You know.
Same. Facts.
And I don't feel out of control with LSD. I mean, I have because I've taken massive amounts of it at one time sometimes, but it's the only thing I've ever done that made me be like, I want to be a better person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You almost come
and
out
not in
as
the
like-
sense of I need to quit this and become a better person, in the sense that this is showing me things about myself
Yeah.
that make me want to be a better person. I want more of this experience. And oftentimes it's the closest I've ever been to a real sense of God.
Fuck
I don't know
yeah.
how else to explain it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I'm
then-
not saying everybody should do LSD, but if you're in the right mindset, if you're in the right environment,
a
it can
guided
be
trip, dude.
extremely therapeutical and beneficial
Yeah.
to your life.
Oh, there's even a documentary about, just about kind of the coming of age of LSD and why it was demonized by the government in the first place. But that's exactly what's happening is psilocybin, right? You sort of hallucinate. So you have your LSD, meditation will get you there as well, right? It doesn't matter how you access this point, just fucking plane, train, automobile,
and
come
DMT
along.
too.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna say if you're so it's seldom that I take acid now with the intent that I always do, but I never take it with the intent of I'm going to learn something about myself.
Yeah.
It's always, it happens, but that's never my intent. My intent is I want to see a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
I want to hallucinate.
I want
So
to
if you
geek out for
if you
4
take-
hours,
yeah,
4 to 6 hours.
12
Or
hours.
12.
Yeah. So if you take the LSD
12 hours.
and then you do the DMT on top of
Jesus Christ.
it. Oh, it's fantastic.
Honestly,
So good.
honestly,
So good.
maybe. My birthday's just around the corner. Why wait though? You know, I was even thinking about that too. The first dude who was really experimenting with LSD and didn't really know how much to take,
Hoffman?
so he fucking took a fuck ton. Like even to this
Yeah,
day,
and then he got on his bicycle to ride home.
and he like tells his fucking his lab assistant like follow me and just make sure and he fucking nobody knows if he ever made it home. But I could only imagine being like an hour and start to fucking trip balls, dude. 3-6 hours and you're like, fuck, what if I never come back? Like, and you're almost like, I have to pot commit to the happy part of this, to the geek out part of this, to the exploratory and curious part of this, or you will spiral into the dark parts that are a bad trip.
I
right?
have that more with
Fuck.
mushrooms.
Sure
Mushrooms
is.
to me is darker.
Yeah.
For me, it
Interesting.
taps into the darker part of my psyche. So I don't do mushrooms a lot.
I was
Plus, they
gonna ask
fucking
lot of
when
taste
mushrooms. Oh, they taste like
when
ass,
have
man.
you felt like, oh wait, what if I don't come out of this? Have you felt that?
Only that one time. And it's in the book. I had a vial of acid, and me and this girl I was with, Michelle, we were at my house, and we'd already been on acid, and then we started to have a party at the house. It was a great party. Yeah, we had so much booze. The cops came
Lot
at
of
one point.
parties.
People just started running. It was fantastic. but halfway through the party, we decided to do more. And so we went into my room, and I put a drop on her tongue, and then she was going to put a drop on my tongue. And I told her, I said, you don't have to squeeze it. Just hold the vial over, and you'll see the drop hit my tongue and pull it away. She squeezed it. And I felt like a nickel's worth of freaking acid hit my tongue. And I was like, oh, shit. And she's like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And I'm like, yeah,
I'm going to go sit down on the couch real fast.
And
I'm just going to sit down.
Yeah, I went out and sat in the living room. All my friends are there, and people I don't know. Everybody's partying. There's this Batman cartoon on. And like a dribble of it just came out of the TV onto the floor. Bloop. And it just spread throughout the room. And I remember fogginess of that night, bits and pieces of things that happened, but not really the whole night. I fried balls for like 3 days. Seriously, until I passed out. And when I finally woke up, after sleeping it off for 2 days, I was like, oh my God, am I okay? Is my mind, am I insane now? And it took only a couple of hours to realize that, no, actually, I'm fine. It was it was a hard trip, but I'm good.
Your body was
but then my next fear was like, oh shit.
What if
Did I take too much acid to have it affect? So yes, I took 2 more hits and went to Disneyland.
Let's just test this theory.
Yeah. And that was a good trip too.
Bro. Oh my God.
Yeah,
because they used to, I remember hearing, about don't do acid because you could go there and never come back. And
I think
go there and never come back.
I've heard of it happening to people.
It'll be different.
I've never experienced that.
Yeah,
Even given the amount of acid I took that one time, I thought for sure if it was going to happen.
Bro, that's your album cover.
That would be
like, oh my God. The fucking visual too. Oh my God.
It sounds so scary to me. Like I have anxiety listening to that because I could never.
Vibes.
Ever.
I would love to.
It's good.
And I think, in a safe, and for people like that, right? A safe,
environment is everything.
Environment,
and who you're
energy,
with.
the people.
I love
mindset.
it for all of you. I love that you guys can really love it and it's great for you, but I will never try it. Sorry.
No.
I've
That's okay.
smoked weed before.
Yeah.
I used to smoke weed
It's
back in the
real
day
high.
a lot. Yeah. But not anymore.
Oh
I don't
my
like
God.
being out of control. Weed makes me feel out of control.
Does it?
Yeah.
I
It's
heard a lot of
weird.
people say
I
that.
get real dumb.
Or they get more anxious.
My
on
brain
it,
gets
'cause they're
like, we don't remember the stove is hot. We don't remember things like that.
I
It's
think
weird.
I have this natural nervous energy, and I think weed kind of regulates me.
Mm-hmm.
It's also great for neurodivergent. Like, I mean, as far as like ADHD, I'll smoke
Yeah.
and it'll chill me out for
Chill
a bit.
you out, yeah.
And I can get rolling on a project or something.
Were they testing for that when I was in grade school? I probably would have been diagnosed.
Everyone.
Everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah.
And just a different approach to all our entire upbringings of undiagnosed PTSD. And then like coming out of college and finding out like, fuck. If I'd have just had like Adderall, I probably would have passed.
Yeah.
Like I probably would have fucking had my shit together to pay attention to an hour-long fucking professor. Yeah, fucking right. But no, this fucking shit was a trip, dude. And like, I think it's, an important experience to tell your life story, especially because like people are going to read this and like, if it's a safe space to talk about like your daughter, right? And like towards the end there, it kind of got this like wishy-washy where I was like, okay, well, what happened? My question is, and this is just like a real talk Sunday question, my genuine curiosity is like, you would mention when she shows up and she's like, yo, we got a daughter. And you were like, fucking okay. Like, okay, great. And everyone was like, bro, you should get a DNA test. Bro, you should get something going on here. Like, are you sure it's yours? Had any part of you ever had that? Like, it was almost this like, I truly think that was the role, is my opinion, your father played on you where you were like, it doesn't fucking matter if she's mine or not. Like, love is love. But in my head, I was like,
no.
Is she yours?
There was never... Debbie and I, her mom, I guess you could call her an ex, but we weren't really together.
Yeah, you guys are kind of in this.
I never doubted her. That
Really?
woman, to my knowledge, she's never lied to me about a thing. And I don't have anything like bad to say about her or anything at all. In fact, she is a much better parent than I ever was. My thing, and I owe my daughter like so much. I owe her the biggest apology because I am a terrible father in the sense that I'm absent. all the time. And a lot of that is driven from an insecurity that I had instantly, that I'm not the right kind of person to be a father. I am going to fail this kid. And it kind of became a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so today my relationship with her is very defined by that absence. Our communication is very sparse. One thing I did love about being in California in 2020 was I did get to be around her. You know, and I won't go into how that kind of thing, just out of respect for her, but it was wonderful to know that she's right there. Like I can just watch her, I can see her, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I always felt unworthy. I don't know how else to phrase that. Yeah. But no, I never questioned once that she was my daughter, not once. And the first time I held her, I think, was probably the scariest moment in my life. Yeah. And that's really the only big regret I have in life, is I didn't and haven't still adequately faced that fear. And that's been detrimental, I think, to her in ways, and certainly to me too, because I love her. I love her dearly. But I fucking suck.
Dude. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I know that's a real one. And it's hard too as a parent, like, it's interesting because even if you're fucking killing the game, you're still like, I should not be this kid's parent. Like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, maybe that's
something. And the crazy part is you weren't trying to be. You weren't trying to be anybody's parent. You know what I mean? Like, your life, like, you were going about your day not trying to be anybody's dad, or, like, trying to be moving into that family life. Like, you were on your own journey and your own, you know, you were a kid, bro. Right. And I think about that, dude. Our parents having us at, like, 20, 18, 19, 20, some 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. My mom, instead of raging on the 21st birthday in Vegas like I did, was fucking knocked up with her second kid. You know what I mean? Like, and just like
I will say it's not all, like I said, my relationship with her is very much defined by my absence.
Yeah.
But it wasn't always due to a lack of effort. You know, I always paid my child support. You know, I tried to maintain the contact. But it was also, Debbie, her mom, was younger than me, you know, and she had the influence of her family, who viewed me as nothing but a sperm donor.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't matter. Yeah. They didn't even put me on the birth certificate. They didn't care if I saw her, you know, and Debbie one time moved out of state. Yeah. Nobody called me. Yeah. Nobody told me.
She did that to you twice. You know what I mean? I was like, bitch bounced again? Like, where'd she go? What do you mean? Like,
yeah. But, you know, I mean, the first time I get it, because it's not like I held my kid and instantly had this revelation, like, I got to clean up my act, I got to mature. Yeah. I didn't change at all.
Right.
You know what I mean? I was still just on that path, whatever path I was on. So, you know, part of me is like, I would have fucking split too.
Yeah.
You know, but her family never encouraged. In fact, actively, her aunt and uncle just decided right off they hated me. And there was a period when my daughter was 15 or so that I was fighting for custody of her. And I was going to get her to go here. Unfortunately, her aunt worked for the court system, so she had an in. And they took her. And I won't go into what happened afterwards. But so, you know, some of them in her family, not Debbie herself, but some of her family members played a very active role in making sure that I had as little to do with her as possible. Now that she, you know, is well over 18 and everything, I definitely bear the responsibility for that. She's an adult now, so I think it might be a little bit more a shared thing, but it still falls on me because she wouldn't have that reluctance had I been more aggressive about being a fundamental part of her life. And I am always going to pay for that, not just with my own.
Yeah, you can't change that now.
Thing, but I'm going to pay for that in my relationship with her for forever, and that sucks.
Yeah. Fuck, I feel that, dude. Fuck. Thank you for just like letting us share in your vulnerability. Thank you for that, and that's fucking real because I know there's a lot of people who, I mean, you're not alone in that feeling, dude.
That's another reason everybody should write their own autobiography.
They fucking should.
It does teach you to be, because there's a lot of vulnerability in there.
Yeah.
You know, I put a lot in there that's like, fuck, is he really saying this?
Yeah.
You know
that's
what I mean?
true.
And
It almost, honestly.
You're just real. You're
I was
real
like,
talk
fuck,
Sundays,
dude.
Zane.
Are you like, someone's
I'm
going to
real
read
talk
this?
every day.
Like,
Yeah,
I remember even at the podcast party, I was like, how can you be so fearless in your vulnerability? And you were just like, fucking. And then I was like, okay. But like, it's interesting too, what an experience to literally like bare your soul in a sense, right? And put it out for the general public. Whoever consumes it does, whoever doesn't. And then we consume it and like, I got questions, right? But I could only imagine like how honest you need to be with yourself and who you are as a person and set to put so much honesty between two covers and then feel free to go ahead and read it, whether or not I'm going to receive your input or criticism, whatever the fuck it is, right? But I was literally like, shit, if I were to write an autobiography, how much truth would I tell?
Yeah.
How much would I silver line it? You know, just to make sure that I didn't look like the fucking asshole or the fucking slut or the bad mom or the whatever. And the whole time I'm reading this, and in the end too, you're even like, I'm the asshole here. And I was like, fuck, I didn't even think about that when I was going through. I was like, you had asshole tendencies, but like and it's not even like that I know you. I've just been in your circle for a few years and I've meet cutes here and there, but like for some reason it was like, I don't know, it was just a sense of like, you're not an asshole, you were fucking learning, but you were an asshole sometimes, yes. But like at the end of the day,
what do you think was my biggest asshole moment?
biggest fucking asshole moment. Oh, there was a couple. Bro, when you fucking put the fucking couch that was wet, dumped in the pool back in your fucking grandpa's house, and he literally is like, you're like, oh, a drink must have spilled on it, and he's like, and then you come back and it's like a new couch and the carpet's replaced. I was like, your fucking grandpa was like, fucker, this is my
pissed.
house of business. Like, you know what I mean?
This is Casa De
That was
Swing,
after
motherfucker.
all these years of him just giving you this fabulous fat ass pad to just chill and vibe and drink and party with your friends, and you're just like, I don't know, there's a drink on it or something. You were like, we dumped it in the pool because it was a prank. My friend was sleeping on it, and then we set it out into the sun for like 2 or 3 days. But you didn't even squish out the fucking cushions. Like, I'd have unzipped the cushions, put them in the dryer. Like, I'd have been out there like, oh, Grandpa can't fucking know. But dude, no, there was this. Oh my god, and there was this one. I gotta talk about this because it was again like a paragraph where I was like, why isn't this a whole fucking chapter? What? Where you were like, oh, me and my buddies were having this foursome with a couple of girls, and then there was a miscommunication on some anal, and someone shit all over the kitchen floor. Anyways, then I walked into the other room, and I was like, what the fuck? Wait, what? Wait,
There was a miscommunication.
Wait, what? Is there a page?
An anal
Oh, there's no
miscommunication.
fucking page number, so I don't know. Like,
Yeah. How come there's no page numbers?
I don't. The honest reason there was no page numbers, I couldn't figure out how to fucking put them on the page.
You should have called
I was too high to figure out how to add
fuck.
page numbers.
oh, fuck, that's good.
Yeah,
I thought you were just trying to be different.
I was being incompetent.
Dude, at least it ain't weaponized. Because you're reading through it, you're like, shit, did I miss a fucking page? Like, what the fuck? So she just shit on the. Yeah, it happens. It happens. I can't even judge. I mean,
Happens.
Not on a kitchen floor, but yep. Been there, yep. Oh,
Shit
man.
happened Friday night.
Oh, God. Yeah.
Dang, you're wild,
What's
dude.
up, vibe, dude? Yeah, that's what I was like, dude, this guy was just rolling. How you weren't so tired? But then I was like, oh, dude, you're a kid. You know, when you're like
Right.
18, that stint from like 16 to 24, where you just have all the fucking fearless energy. You got all the energy all the time. You're like in right place, right time. But like, I don't know. I just couldn't like. I think about, like our parents growing up, and like, I couldn't imagine growing up in California during that time and coming out alive. I really couldn't. My mom moved us here when I was 5 years old from LA. Moved us here. And thank God she did. Because when I go back and visit my family there, I'm like, and my family's, they're great. They have a completely different setup. Like their parents are great, whatever. But for me growing up, I literally would have been like, oh, I had a fucking gang. Like, I don't know what I would have done.
You would have been dead.
I
Somebody
would've
would have
died.
murdered you because you would have went
I would have fucking done something with somebody.
You think you would have got involved in gangs or something?
I think
No,
like
she
I would
wouldn't
have
be involved in
definitely,
a
I definitely
gang.
would have joined sport because sports saved my life. Like
Yeah.
sports kept me kind of on C's and D's. That was
She would've
also a
been
terrible
sex trafficked.
I would have been
Amanda would have been sex trafficked.
Yeah. I would have lied to my mom about going somewhere and went to a fucking party and
it wasn't a party.
never came back.
Yeah.
Ended up at Casa De Swing and shitting on the floor in the kitchen.
That actually, Casa De Swing sounds like a safe spot. Like, honestly, and I would be like, fuck yeah, I'm there. When we come, you want me to bring
It
a
always
frack of
felt
beer?
like a safe space to me.
It vibes like that.
Yeah, it's even the backyard. The walls are like 10 feet high, and
the privacy.
You're in a And I had that house to myself all the time.
Yeah.
My grandfather was a workaholic, and a lot of times he'd just go to whatever woman he was with at the time, and so I would see him, but pretty much the house was mine.
Yeah.
And it's just this huge
What a dream for you and
party
your friends.
house, swinger club that I lived in from 15 to 24.
Yeah.
It was perfect. It was great. I love that house.
Oh,
That's cool.
Imagine, dude. Yeah, I would have died. I would have fucking died. It would have just been bad. My brother would have been murked. Like, my brother's he's just got resting bitch face. He would have been fucking whiter than white, and just not a vibe. But there was a sentence in there that I wrote down. You had written down when you discovered the Beatles, right? When Lennon died, and you were like, who the fuck's this guy? Like, who the fuck are the Beatles? And I was like, what the fuck? You wrote in there that you were almost you applauded the evolution of that time, like the evolution and the revolution of the music, right? And then you were like, I fucking pity my generation because there's no fucking revolution here. There's no evolution here. And I was thinking about, then what say you about the later generation's music and even today's music? Like, coming from the foundation that is, I wouldn't say foundation, but a lot of fundamental artists, music and albums from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. And then coming now into 2024 and the music that's out there today. Like, I guess, would you say the same thing about our generation's music, or even Gen X's music or Gen Z's music? This generation.
Well, I'm at the tail end of Gen X.
Yeah.
I think that's true of every generation. Is there crap? Yeah, absolutely. But there's crap in every generation. Mm-hmm. There was a lot of crap in the 60s and 70s and the 80s and the 90s especially.
Yeah.
I mean, Lisa Loeb, what is that? Sorry, Lisa.
Everyone can make an album.
So there's always that, the shit music the industry puts out to make a buck, and then you have your what I would call your real artists who are doesn't matter if they're making a buck or not. That's not the determination. It just, everybody has different tastes. Everybody's into something different. What I think is awful, somebody else may love. So it's all
That's
subjective.
True.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about music.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It
fucking
is.
music. And for certain people, especially musicians alike, music is life. And I couldn't imagine. I love music. I have an appreciation for music, but there are people who love it far, far more than me, right? To where it's it's a part of them. It's their soul. And it's I could imagine living a life that almost doesn't worth living without music. And if you even think about everything's music, the tune the birds play outside when you walk and you're walking on your walk, it's music. And
there's a beat everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And lyricists, I love a good lyricist.
Yeah.
I love a really good poet. I love somebody that makes you just you listen to the words in the song, and you're like, fuck, and you just start crying. And the relatability and just the fact that I will listen to foreign music, not even in English sometimes, and the beat is so on, or the vocals are so good, you're just damn, I don't even understand it, and I understand it because I feel it.
Yeah, and there's some music you listen to for, when I'm in a really bad mood, and it's something wrong with me, and I have to crawl, I'll put on mariachi. I don't understand a fucking word of it. But it's so uplifting.
You're just
you just can't help but smile, and you're just fuck yeah, dude. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
So I think one of my more of my musically inclined questions, because here on RTS every episode we list a new artist or an up and coming artist or a deep cut or something along those lines, just someone who doesn't have a lot of exposure. So it's a 2-part question, but my first part is what is the last song added to your liked playlist or your favorited playlist where you're oh, I fuck with this song?
It's not a very new song, but I've been hooked on it for a while, and I listen to it at least every other day. It's got to be fucking Flowers from Miley. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, dude.
I could buy myself
Myself
flowers.
Write my name in the sand.
I was literally singing that
Talk
yesterday.
to myself for
Oh,
hours. Yeah, man.
You should cover that song
I
on your next
fucking
show.
love that
That
song.
would be so cool if you did that.
Yeah, Miley's great. I'm a sucker for anything Gaga puts out too.
Funny.
You know, Ghost.
I wouldn't know that.
Yeah, I have pretty eclectic
Yeah.
taste in music.
What's your most, I would say, like, underground or least played or just non-mainstream, like, song or artist that you're into?
Himself, Dying Famous.
Dying Famous.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
100%.
Can we use a Dying Famous as the song tonight?
Tonight? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck
Pick a
yeah.
song right now that you want us to play
Fuck
for
yeah.
after this episode.
Okay.
Yeah.
Play. I guess you could choose. What I got on Apple, Spotify. There's a new song on Spotify. I think it's called "Freak."
Uh-huh.
Play that one. It's about the Boise Mall shooting
Oh.
that happened.
Fuck me.
October was it 2021? Yeah, it's about
Uh-huh.
You guys were both there.
I was there.
that. You were at the mall?
Yeah, me and my whole family.
Holy shit!
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, I
My
wasn't
fucking
there.
son saw the whole thing.
Wow, crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a trip, man. It's been a
Can
ride.
we not choose that song as
It's
the...
been-
No,
I don't know, honestly,
I think you should.
Very
It's actually
apropos, dude.
I know, but...
it's
Very apropos.
it's a surprisingly musically uplifting song.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Okay.
Honestly,
All
and
right, that's
yeah.
fine
But
as long
I
as
would-
you guys agree on
That's
I
it.
would
honestly
encourage
like a
you
little bit of
guys
goosies right
Yeah.
there, a
to
little bit.
look at a lot of you said groups that don't have a lot of exposure.
Yes.
There is some fantastic music here
Yeah.
in the Boise Valley.
I will say
really great
we have a
bands.
tendency not to look in our own backyard. We've been told by a few
Well,
people
just like,
just
isn't like
local
Tree
bands.
Fort is where all
Yeah,
those...
coming at Tree Fort, just local artists that hear in the music up and coming
I-
for Boise. I
Whatever,
agree.
Tree Fort. I'm saying there's just some great artists here.
Yeah.
Whether you're talking folk, hip hop.
For
I know a
sure.
ton of fantastic rock
I'm gonna have to get
bands
on
and
that.
metal
Yeah.
bands, and there are just some amazing
We talked a lot about that.
musicians who are very talented here.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm on it. I honestly wouldn't mind like a top 10 list, to be quite frank.
If you
yeah,
can
'cause,
make
like
one
if we
for
can
us.
bring more people in and like,
Yeah.
why not?
And
Why fucking
interview
not?
them, that would
I
be
love
cool.
music. I love just listening
Yeah.
to shit. You just hear a new shit and you're just like, oh, like but yeah, we'll blast that all fucking day. I don't know, but that was from like me to you. I just really appreciate you coming in, sharing your space with us, dude. Sharing your
Thanks for
book
sharing your
with
space with
us.
me.
Like, fuck. This was a fun. I enjoyed
So
this. This was one
cool.
of my favorite little like stints that we did. And honestly, I think we need to do more of it. But you have any? I'm trying to think of another question that you had at breakfast. I can't
No, I
remember.
feel like we asked them all.
Ah, fuck, dude. It was so fun. And I'm sure there's more shit I'm gonna be thinking of like, oh yeah, what about that one time? But ultimately, yeah, I just want a big thank you. If you it's actually available on Amazon, and you can also download it for Kindle as well. But the unauthorized autobiography of Zane McGinley, McGinley, McGinley. So if you want to get it, you can do it. If you have
Read
Kindle,
it.
yeah, read it. And it's and the quick thing is, it's like I was able to burn through it too. And again, it kept up with my like how my brain works. So I really liked the conversational aspect of it. But yeah, and then hang around for part 2. Like that's great. Fuck
Yeah.
yeah. When's that like TBD? Like how long? That's hard to even put. I think a timeline on it.
It is, and the sequel to it is probably going to be broken up. It's easy to write about the Dying Famous stuff and all
Yeah.
the mayhem there. A little bit harder to write about the more personal things like the divorce
Yeah.
and things.
Shit, yeah.
Because in a way, I don't. So I caught my wife cheating on me,
Fuck.
and
Like you walked in?
like she made up a story about where she was going to be, and I was
Oh.
just kind of like, to be
That
granted,
sounds fishy.
the 4 years going into that, we were already having a hard time.
Yeah.
And a lot of that had to do with her alcoholism, my neglectfulness, unintentional. It's just, and I think for her, and maybe for any woman, it's hard to not be the thing that a man loves first. And she could never compete with like Dying Famous.
Right.
And I think in her mind, she always knew if there's the opportunity here, this guy will walk away from me in a second
Fuck.
to fulfill something
Oh.
with this band. And that cannot be an easy thing to live with. Does that justify?
That's so real. Rain's
That's
like,
so
sorry, Dying Famous #1, you're #2. Are you good with
oh
that
my
or
God.
no?
Yeah.
Oh my
well,
God.
I didn't even voice it. And
I
it
know,
took
I'm
me
just
after
like-
to realize, but yeah, I caught her in a motel with a guy, and
Dang, we went to a motel.
and yeah, and then it just spent all of 2019 trying to save a marriage that had been lost for years.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So it was brutal. So in a way, so I'm gonna have to write about that, and it's
Yeah.
I don't want to write it in a way that makes her look like the monster she made me out to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know if I see a way around it. Bitches be bitches.
Bitch. What is it? Muggles be muggling. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Humans be humans. Like, oh my God. Bitches be bitches. That, honestly, I think about that too, because I was like, never have I ever been in a relationship where I haven't been someone's fucking son. Like, their
Son of the
entire
earth and the
life
moon and-
revolves around me. And that's a lot of pressure to where I'm like, fuck, I don't want to be the center of your world. I just want to be a part of it. Like, this is crazy. And it's like, yeah, no, I could see it if a motherfucker came to me and was like, just so you know, I've had a previous love. And B even says this all the time. He's like, no one will ever compare. So any woman that comes in, I will never love as much as you. They will always be #2. And that don't sit well with me. If a motherfucker came in and was like, just so you know, I have this art or I have this passion. I have this. This will always take precedence. And I would just be like,
See, and I never
Bet.
actually said that, but my
but
actions
the vibes, yeah,
displayed
dude.
it, for
You don't
sure.
have to.
And I'm not an easy person, I think, I think I'm probably an easy person to love, but probably not an easy person to be in a relationship with. One, because of that. But also I can be, I don't take responsibility for other people's feelings
Yeah.
very often. So I'm always pretty direct.
The epitome of real talk.
Yeah.
This is Real Talk Sundays.
But I also have my own issues. I do tend to put women on a pedestal.
Yeah.
And before I'm delving back into another relationship, if I come across it, I have to figure that out too.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do that anymore either. So trying to figure out not so much what the bullshit she pulled to end her marriage, but what part did I play in that? And I got to figure all that out before I go.
Good self-reflection.
Because I'm not going to ask somebody to go into a relationship with me if I haven't figured that out. Because I don't want to put somebody else through the same thing or whatever. But, you got to know. Yeah, the sex will be good. You'll probably bat your eyes at a lot of my behavior and things like that. And you may get tossed out of my house for talking during Star Trek.
But it will be a fun experience.
But it'll be fun.
We'll have a great
fun.
fucking time. It'll be memorable. I'll be a chapter, that's for sure.
Oh my God.
That's all I can think about,
That's
dude.
too good.
So, like, how do people find you? Are you on Instagram? Are you on
I think
Facebook?
I know Dying Famous has an
Yeah.
Instagram. Yes, I'm on Facebook.
Spotify, Apple Music?
Twitter, Spotify with
Ooh,
the Dying
Twitter.
Famous music. I think Apple Music. I think Dying Famous is on all.
Give
of
him a Google. He pops
Just
right
type
up.
Yeah.
in Dying Famous.
Dying Famous.
Right,
Zane
and again,
McGinley.
the autobiography is on Amazon.
Yeah.
And the second book is on there too. But the second book is not an autobiography or anything. It's a philosophy book based on one sentence. My uncle David and I came up with that. If no matter what mood you're in, but particularly if you're in a bad mood or something like this, you say this one sentence, and it just puts you in a better state of mind.
What
And
is that sentence?
It's just butt stuff.
He's a philosophizer now. Jesus. If I had $1, actually, buddy, we'd buy a coffee with how many times I've actually used that in my life, to be quite honest with you.
Try it next time. You're in a grumpy
I feel
mood.
like it's kinda
you're
already
stuck
integrated.
in traffic, and you're just like,
Butt stuff.
it's just butt stuff.
These
You'll
things-
instantly
These
feel
ain't
better.
shitting on the kitchen floor, but could be a worse day.
Oh my God, that is
Fuck.
too good.
Damn. On that note, that's the most real talk Zane has
Ever said.
we have. We'll definitely give you a sneak peek too of the interview that we did, because you gave us real talk that your grandpa gave you just growing up, and I thought that was just a really good. It was very well said. It was very poetic, and I'm in my 30s now, so it kind of hit me in the moment. I was like, oh shit, I did blink. And I am 30. And what the fuck do I have to show for it? Like, fucking what happened? So we're going to clip that as well, because we're going to end on that, because that was tits.
Cool.
But as far as our episode and artist song of the week, we're going with Freak by Dying Famous. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.